Is it your goal to create photorealistic props in Blender, but you haven't really achieved that yet? Well, in this video I'm breaking down how I made, in my opinion, a pretty realistic wristwatch to give you an idea of what it takes and what you might want to improve on. As with most projects, I started by gathering lots of references online into a PureRef file. In my case, I had pictures on the exact thing I wanted to recreate, but if that's not the case for you, just find stuff that is very similar to the thing you want to create. I then chose one image as a main reference and loaded it into Blender. Normally, you want to begin modeling just the main shapes, since it's much easier to do any overall changes on that. But since the watch is quite simple already, I felt comfortable enough to go into more detail right from the start. I even began adding triple edges for the subsurf modifier, which I would normally do at the very end. Of course, I used the mirror modifier wherever I could to save time and keep it simple. With most of the broader details in place, I began to add the more complex stuff, like the holes for the buttons on the side. Since I was modeling with the subd workflow in mind, I had to make sure the topology was good to prevent pinching and other artifacts. I continued modeling the crown on the side, which actually took a bit of time but wasn't really that difficult. It might look complex for beginners, but with some experience, most things are really easy to model if you break it down into manageable pieces. The rest was adding the smaller details on the clock face and pointers until I was happy. I used the object offset in the ray modifier for all the radial details. I just made sure to give them some UVs before applying the modifier, so that I did not have to do it for all the duplicates individually. The brand name of the clock face had a specific font, so I took a screen grab and used an online tool to find out the font. I did not really find the exact one, but something quite similar, which was good enough for me. Last to add was the logo, which I quickly modeled and then used the same mesh to also engrave it into the crown on the side. With the main part of the watch done, I went on to modeling the straps. Adding the stitches was actually easier than I expected, which I used an array and curve modifier for. I added the holes and then went into modeling the buckle. This is a prime example on why looking at references is key. I began modeling it from memory, but it ended up looking very flat and unrealistic. Turns out the shape is a bit more complex than I had in mind. Next up was materials, for which some parts needed UVs. This actually turned out to be more challenging than I thought, since with multiple holes in the main parts of the watch, having the shell stay straight wasn't easy. What I ended up doing was to split the ring into 4 sides and then used the project from view to get straight shells. This though gave me 4 seams, but they weren't really that visible in the end. UVing the rest was pretty straightforward. For the brushed metal look I used a noise texture, stretched it on one axis, which I then used as a color, roughness and bump map. This did not work for the circular caps because, as you can see on the reference, it's brushed in a circle. Fortunately, I found an easy and simple tutorial explaining exactly that. I used the same brushed metal material for multiple other parts of the watch, I just changed the overall brightness of the metal. The materials for the strap though were a bit more challenging. It took me quite a lot of experimenting to create some realistic looking leather and stitch materials. I ended up scaling the stitches way down and hiding the whole strap for the close-up, since both modeling and materials weren't holding up for that. I could have spent another day on coming up with a solution for that, but just hiding it for one render seemed like an easy fix for me. For me, it's always a matter of just doing a lot of test renders while always pointing out the things that do not yet work and improving on that. And as usual, I did a quick grade in Photoshop for the final result. Here it is. In general, I'm quite happy with how this project turned out. Overall, this took me about 3 days, with the first day just modeling the main part of the watch, while using the last day to tweak the results until I was happy. If you enjoyed this video and want to support me, consider subscribing.